June 15th will, of course, be a very interesting fight as it will be the return of Gervonta Tank Davis. And he will be taking on the Ghost, Frank Martin. And, of course, in the co-main event, David Benavidez will be moving up to light heavyweight to fight for the interim title against the former world champion at light heavyweight, Alexander Gvozdyk. Sorry for butchering his name, but in the undercard, basically is 4 title fights. You also have Gary Antoine Russell taking on Alberto Puello for the interim WBC Super Lightweight World Championship. And of course, you have Carlos Adamez, the newly awarded WBC World Champion, will be taking on Terrell Gausha. And in the prelims, you have Elijah Garcia taking on Kyrone Davis, which I did say before, because I think he was supposed to fight the Canelo card, but whatever. If Kyrone is weight drained, Garcia is most likely going to win by knockout, but if he's not, it'll be a hard-fought battle, but I think Garcia will get the decision. And you have the return of Roy Monvilla taking on a very nice power puncher. Obviously, his last outing was not very good. He got whooped really bad. So unless his chin is gone, I think he should get the win. But enough about that. The first fight on the card, Carlos Adamez versus Terrell Gausha. So of course, Terrell, I'm going to call him that now because I can't pronounce his last name, is 24-3 with 1 draw. With 12 wins by way of knockout, he is 36 years old and getting a title shot, a second title shot. Now, of course, his 3 losses, which is just seen as bad. Don't get me wrong, it is 3 losses. But 2 of those losses, we'll have to give him his flowers. They were up against the best 154-pounders at the time. And his 1 draw was, of course, to another great 154-pounder. His first loss came to Irislandi Lara via unanimous decision, and he was knocked down in the 4th round. Decently close affair, not really. Next blemish was a split decision draw to Austin No Doubt Trout. And afterwards, he lost a unanimous decision win to Erickson Lubin. Obviously, Erickson Lubin's coming off of a controversial win over Jesus Ramos Jr., but whatever. And after that, his last blemish was against Tim Tszyu via unanimous decision, and he was knocked down. Decently close affair, kind of. The knockdown really helped, but it was still a loss. But anywho, Carlos Adamez is 23-1 with 18 wins by way of knockout. Of course, we know that 1 loss is to Patrick Teixeira, where he was knocked down in the 7th round. Of course, Teixeira is fighting Xander Zayas. Hopefully, I'm able to put who won that fight. Maybe it helps Carlos Adamez's record. Maybe it hurts it. I don't know. But the thing is, after that, he kind of moved up. His last 3 fights were at middleweight, being against Sergey Deverenchenko, which he won majority decision. Very, very close affair. Once again, Deverenchenko, always that guy to almost beat elite opponents, whether he be robbed or he just loses a competitive decision, doesn't matter. But anywho, after that, it was Juan Marcius Montiel, who, no offense to him, he has, for some reason, still has a 100% knockout ratio, but he lost only twice via knockout, so it's good that he lost. Now, I guess it helps Carlos Adamez because he beat him via knockout. But anywho, his last win is Julian Williams, aka the former unified super welterweight champion of the world. He won via 9th round stoppage in a, they say not close affair. Some people say it was. It doesn't matter. That was a little controversial. A little bit. Not too much. Because Julian Williams, only 2 punches landed from Adamez. And then they got stopped. Don't get me wrong. It was a flurry. And it was already a pretty grueling fight. But come on. I think he could have gone a little bit more. Everyone thought that. But whatever. He got the win. Doesn't matter. So, of course, his first title defense is against Terrell. And, who do I got winning? It's a very interesting affair because Terrell doesn't have that much power. I think we all know that. Even moving up to 160, not too much power. But he does have quite a bit of experience. Only blemishes on his record are to the absolute best. Of course, Adamez's 1 loss was to Teixeira, which is, don't get me wrong, world champion, but he didn't lose to him as a world champion. technically. But anywho, I think Carlos Adamez wins, kind of, because Gausha needs to not give Adamez room, because if you see him fight, if he gets distance, he's gonna absolutely whoop Gausha, maybe even stop him, especially because it's a new weight class for him, not really a second fight, but his last opponent, not so good. But if he makes it a war of attrition like Williams and Teixeira did, he could very well win. He is a very durable dude. Adamez also comes up from 154, and if he gets his distance, that's where he starts to go off. Gausha doesn't have too much power, but you don't need to have too much power to wear someone down. Could very much well be a Gausha win, but unfortunately, I do not think that will happen. I got Adamez winning unanimous decision, beating the 36-year-old. Of course, yeah, that's also a thing. He's 36, so I don't know. Maybe moving up does rejuvenate his career, but we'll have to see. I got Adamez winning unanimous decision, not too hard, unfortunately. But anywho, next fight is for the WBC Interim Super Lightweight World Championship against Gary Antoine Russell and the former WBA champion Alberto Puello. Now, of course, Puello tested positive for steroids, so that's why he lost his belt. But Puello is 22-0 with 10 wins by way of knockout, fighting some pretty good opponents. Last fight was against an 11-0 fighter, before that 9-1. But he got his work cut out for him, as he'll be fighting the knockout artist Gary Antoine Russell, 17-0 with 17 wins by way of knockout. Now, of course, his last fight was a pretty easy knockout win for him in terms of controversy, because before that, he fought Rances Barthélemy and Victor Postol, who, although he did knock out Victor Postol in the 10th round, it very much easily could have gone decision. Would he have still lost? Probably, but it would have ruined his 100% knockout ratio. So that's that. Barthélemy got up, and they just said, nah, this man can't fight. So whatever, right? Doesn't matter. Two controversial kind of stoppages, although he still would have won. It's just the stoppages. You know, he's supposed to be seen as a 100% knockout artist. I don't know. Probably should have gone decision, but whatever. Maybe he would have gotten extremely hurt. Probably. I don't know. Now, who do I got winning? This is a very interesting one. Because Gary Antoine Russell, don't get me wrong, is very powerful. Obviously, 100% knockout ratio. You can't really lie on that. Especially fighting a former world champion in Barthélemy and Postol. The difference is, Barthélemy hurt Russell. He hurt him bad. And Barthélemy doesn't have a lot of power. I mean, okay, he does. He has weird power. You look at his record, you think, nah, this dude don't got too much power. He has like a 50% knockout ratio, and this dude out here whooping people. This dude almost stopped Ramirez, but whatever. Of course, Kent Cruz was his last fight, 16-0, 3 draws, which is so weird. Because I'm going to say this right now. 2 of his draws are to the same guys. Oh my god, the first one was split decision, the second one was majority decision, brother. They must have been so pissed. They were like, what the hell? What do you mean? What do you mean we got a draw again? What the hell? Weirdly enough, after both of them got 2 draws with each other, they both lost their next fight. Of course, Puello is experienced, but unfortunately, without the steroids, I'm just saying Gary Antonio Russell might just bulldoze through this guy. I got Antonio Russell by stoppage, no controversy here. 7th round. 7th round stoppage for Gary Antoine Russell. Very nice. But anywho, next fight you have David, the monster, red flag, Mexican monster, whatever you want to call him, the American monster, whatever. David Benavidez will be moving up to light heavyweight to face Alexander Gvozdyk. To fight Alexander, I am so sorry, but I will not be pronouncing your last name. The Nail is 20-1 with 16 wins by way of knockout and 1 loss by way of knockout. That, of course, came to Artur Beterbiev in their unification fight. He went 10 rounds with Artur Beterbiev, which is pretty far. 10 rounds, surviving against this guy, the All-Canadian. Come on. But, of course, he'll be facing a very tough opponent in David Benavidez, 28-0 with 24 wins by way of knockout, coming off of 2 nice wins, being Caleb Plant and Demetrius Andrade. Now, of course, people are expecting Alexander to not win. He is 37, and he had 3 fights in the past 5 years, and they were all in 2023. So obviously he took 2 years off or 4 years off, and they were against some not great opponents. 20-34, 19-6, and 28-4. But at the end of the day, like most people say, you have to get back in the rhythm. You can't go back in the deep water after almost drowning. That's how you drown again. So obviously he got his confidence back up. He is actually very active. He fought in February, and 3 months later, and 4 months later, this was very active. So, who do I got winning? This is a very interesting one because unless Benavidez cracked his chin, which I doubt happened, then Alexander has a very high chance because of his power. Don't get me wrong, the two newest one probably can be taken with a grain of salt, but he is a very nice boxer. Even at the age of 37, he did have his time off, a well-deserved little rest, and now he's back in action for the WBC interim title. Benavidez's greatest weakness is the fact that he gives up so many rounds. Because Caleb Plant, he could have easily secured 5 rounds. Just easy 5 rounds. And if he didn't headbutt him, by the way, it turns out that he headbutted Caleb Plant. I don't know. Y'all need to see the footage. But anywho, looked like he headbutted him. Whatever, right? And then that's how it basically went downhill for Plant. He's a very hittable guy, although he has the shell-up defense where you literally can't really hurt him because he doesn't let anything be exposed. But Alexander obviously has a lot to prove, as he will be basically the 4th Ukrainian in the Olympic team, basically, because they showed, like, when Berenchik fought, now but I'd say they're like, oh yeah, all these guys all won, except Alexander, as his fight is next. Of course, Lomachenko stopped Kambosos, Berenchik beat Navarrete, and Alexander Usyk became 2-division undisputed world champion. Now, of course, enough dilly-dallying. Who do I got winning? I do think Benavidez might win by decision. It depends on how he deals with a power puncher at 175. The last couple of fights, he has not fought any power punchers. Demetrius Andrade may have been a power puncher at 160, maybe at 154, but not at 168. He fought a guy that gets dropped like 5 times per fight or something like that, and he couldn't stop him. And then he fought Caleb Plant, and Caleb Plant, even though is a natural 168 pounder, he's not a power puncher. And now he's fighting a dude who's still, for some reason, ranked number 5 by BoxRec. I get light heavyweight's not really the best division, but he's only below Callum Smith and Joshua Buatsi. This very match, could be an upset. Although he's 37, he has gotten his well-deserved rest. He's ready. If David Benavidez lets too much rounds go by, especially because of Alexander power, he might steal more rounds. He might get 6 rounds in the bank before Benavidez can actually get stuff done. So if Benavidez, my personal opinion, I think Benavidez has to stop Alexander to get the win. But at the end of the day, Alexander has been there with Benavidez, and Benavidez is a stronger and better puncher than David Benavidez, or at least that's what I'm assuming. 100% knockout ratio, I would assume so. And he's a better boxer than Benavidez. Alexander can easily outbox Benavidez for 7 rounds and then just run for the last ones, and I wouldn't blame him. He's 37, this is his last chance. You gotta do what you gotta do. Although Benavidez is the favorite for a reason, he might win by decision, but Alexander has a very good chance of an upset. He has good footwork, of course, as Ukrainians do. He has power too, and it's definitely probably enough to maybe even scare Benavidez for a couple more rounds and win by decision. But of course, Benavidez does have the Hail Mary shot that he throws against Andrade, but I don't think he's going to catch Alexander with it. I don't think so. Once again, enough dilly-dallying. I got David Benavidez via split decision. I think he wins by split decision. Alexander has a humongous chance of upsetting Benavidez. Elite 175 pounder and a power puncher and slick movement. That's like Plant if he had power. Plant if he had power, man. That Plant with power would have beat Benavidez, but whatever. So that's what he is. He's just fighting an older Plant with power. Very nice. But anywho, David Benavidez via split decision. And of course, the main event, the return of Gervonta Tank Davis versus Frank the Ghost Martin. Of course, Frank Martin is 18-0 with 12 wins by way of knockout, coming off of his unanimous decision win over the bronze medal Olympian Artem Harutyunyan. Just gonna call him Artem. Although the knockdown did help Frank Martin, it was not needed. I think it might have been just a draw if he didn't drop him. But you can be like, well, why did he take a knee? I don't know. Maybe if you get punched in your eye, maybe you don't want to fight no more. I don't know. Many of you guys have not been punched in the eye. I mean, me neither, but hey, whatever. Of course, Tank Davis is 29-0 with 27 wins by way of knockout and the now WBA lightweight world champion. Of course, before he was just the regular one, now he's the fully upgraded one, aka email champion. He is now a 2-division world champion via email. Nice. Of course, coming off of a nice streak of wins. Not so good if you start dissecting it. But of course, people are saying Tank might run through Frank, but I'm seeing a lot of people saying Frank can upset Gervonta Tank Davis, and I think he can, because Frank Martin is a complete opposite, or could be a complete opposite fighter to everyone else he has fought recently. Of course, Ryan Garcia, he was hurt in that fight, by the way, against Ryan Garcia, but this was against a weight drained Ryan Garcia, rehydration clause, all that stuff. Oh, but no excuses or whatever. He signed the contract. Yeah, we all know he signed the contract. It ain't no excuse. But at the same time, we're not going to sit here and say that wasn't a factor. Like, come on. He then beat Hector Luis Garcia, a pillow-fisted super featherweight. That's something. Rolly Romero, who was Rolly. No offense to Rolly, he's a world champion, but come on, Rolly. He was whooping him though. If it wasn't for his, what do you say, low fight IQ, he probably would have won. No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't have won. And of course, Isaac Cruz, which is his own thing. Pitbull got outboxed by goddamn Giovanni Cabrera, so that's something. And then Mario Barrios, which turned out that he was also weight drained, and he almost lost him. Not really on the scorecards, which they would have straight up robbed Mario Barrios. You know what? I'm starting to believe that they did rob Isaac Cruz. Come on. But anywho, Leo Santa Cruz, smaller fighter. Eureka's Gamboa, glass jaw, which he TKO'd him in round 12. Goddamn. So obviously, when you start dissecting their opponents, it's a very thing. All pressure fighters. Ryan and Hector Garcia's. Rolly, Isaac Cruz, Mario Barrios, Leo Santa Cruz, he's goddamn probably even Gamboa at this point. All pressure fighters. Frank Martin is not. Not only that, he'll be a fully hydrated 135 pounder, which he has not fought in 2 years. Very nice. But of course, both of them are coming off of a year layoff from their last fights, being a nice little rest for their little bones. And of course, Frank Martin finally got his spotlight after beating Michel Rivera via basically utter domination. He is a defensive powerhouse and a counterpuncher. That's going to be very hard for Tank to fight. Don't get me wrong, Tank's power is definitely going to be the great equalizer in this fight. But come on, when you fight a certain type of style for more recently in your career, when you fight someone that's very different, it's going to be whiplash. He's going to get a concussion. Don't get me wrong, Frank did start late. He's 29 with really no achievements to his name. But at the end of the day, he is a dude with power, can counter Tank, and can block most of Tank's shots. Don't get me wrong, people are like, hey man, what if you go to the body of Frank? You really think they wouldn't think of that? I mean, come on. That thing was easily exposed by Artem, but then it turns out, I don't know, Artem's an actual power puncher. Because Artem, in his first part of the career, he fought at 140, 143 around there. And then he moved down. So obviously he has some power that he carried down with him. But at the end of the day, just like many things, there's a reason why Tank's the favorite. He beat Ryan Garcia to become the face of boxing, obviously. But enough dilly-dallying once again. Sorry for dilly-dallying. If someone said, hey man, you just worked your 40 hours, time to put that $100 to good use, is to bet on one of these guys. Unfortunately, I will have to bet on Tank because he is the favorite for a reason. But I wouldn't mind sprinkling a little bit on Frank Martin. Frank Martin, like I said, counterpuncher, defensive, some good footwork. So obviously he could keep up with Tank. Tank will have to be the pressure fighter this time. And I don't know when he did that. Don't get me wrong, he walked down people like Leo Santa Cruz, but Leo Santa Cruz was tiny. Of course you could walk down Leo Santa Cruz. And of course with the Hector Luis Garcia fight, and of course Ryan Garcia, Rolly, and Isaac. Okay, every fight, he has been touched a lot. The difference is either they were weight drained and they finally succumbed to their weakness, or maybe they were quote-unquote robbed, or they're dumb, or they're weak. Tank managed to win. Ryan Garcia got stopped to the body as being dehydrated. Hector Luis Garcia didn't have the power to really do anything to Tank. Rolly is the dumb one I'm talking about. I'm sorry, Rolly. I like you. You're funny. But you're kind of dumb. How do you spam the same combo twice after seeing Leo Santa Cruz spam the same thing 3 times and get knocked out? What do you think was going to happen, Rolly? Isaac Cruz was the one I'm talking about being robbed. Mario Barrios weight drained. Frank will be fully hydrated, have power. He could theoretically stop Tank, and I think he might have to. He's not going to beat the face of boxing in a decision, unfortunately, even unless it's utter domination, which is not going to happen. Frank will unfortunately have to knock out Tank. Can I see it happening? I could. Tank gets countered. Very much could be. But then again, Tank most likely will win probably 10th, 11th round stoppage. Unfortunately, we're going to be rooting for Frank Martin. But unfortunately, I think Tank's power will be a little bit too much. And I don't know, maybe he'll just bullshit his way through. I don't know. But anyways, hope you enjoy this video. Of course, we got Carlos Adamez winning, Antoine Russell, Benavidez winning, Tank winning. Obviously, oh, but aren't they all the favorites? Yes, but each one of them, except Gary and Antoine Russell, all are in a fight where I could easily see an upset happening. Terrell Gausha could easily upset Carlos Adamez if he fights the right way. Alexander could easily beat Benavidez via decision if he banks enough early rounds. Frank Martin can easily, maybe not too easily, but I could easily see Frank Martin beating Gervonta Tank Davis. I mean, when was the last time Tank actually fought a slick defensive fighter? I don't even know when. Like I said, the whiplash will be too much for Tank. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.